done. Peeps, what is the beef? Episode 58 of the Chef Fit podcast. Can you do Chef Fit alone? That's today's episode, okay? I'm going to be diving into some tasty stuff and really just the differentiation, okay? The big thing that people will either take away from this podcast or they'll take away from watching the videos, doing the 5-day free course. Like, people will have this mindset, and a lot of chefs have this mindset of, well, I could do it myself. You know, I can do it myself. And, you know, in theory, you're correct. But in reality, I believe that about 95% of people, probably 99% of people, that statement's not true for. You probably can't do it alone. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. And we're going to be jumping into some of the things that you would see in Chef Fit that makes that journey different. When you are in the tribe, what makes it different? You know, that's the things that we're going to be jumping into today. Before we do, though, Petey, are you well, pal? Fine picture on the wall.
All good in the hood. All good in the hood. Before we get into how we are doing, can everybody do us a quick favor and like the podcast if you're listening on YouTube, Podbean, or iTunes? Subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. Really, really, really helps us out. And other than that, I'm doing all good. I'm loving this week's challenge, have to say. We have a challenge every week to mix it up. It would be like, it could be a physical, mental, social, spiritual challenge. This week it is as physical as they come. We all have to do 3 10K runs. I did my first one yesterday. Cam, how did you get
on? Good. Fucking tough. Good though. It's been a while. That's the kind of whole purpose if we did it. I've got another one to do immediately after this podcast, which is fairly.
Oh yeah, it's tomorrow for you now, isn't it?
That's fucking exactly. My ankle's been a bit fucked. We were getting it done, and I think you know, because we got another one on Saturday, so that's 3 10Ks in a week. You know, this it actually ties in perfectly to the episode today. The challenge that I said,
because I
go ahead.
I would have backed out if I wasn't in the tribe, and I was like, I'm going to run a 10K tomorrow on Monday, and then I went out yesterday as I felt and as everything was going, and then I got to around exactly 6.6K, and I said, right, I feel like I have done enough now.
Yep.
I feel like I can't do anymore. I feel like I'm hurting, or you know, my heart rate or my breathing, all this stuff. I feel like I've done enough. This is as much as I can run right now. But I did another 3.4K after that.
There you go. And I think a big thing, first and foremost, not using fucking what I did to plan ahead with the 10K instead, because I know if I hadn't have planned a route that mentally I'm going to look for a way out, you know. So it was like, okay, cool. I got this block that I live on. And I know if I run directly around the block from my gap, it's 2.5K a lap. So if I do that 4 times, I got a 10K in.
Oh, perfect.
So instead of just thinking like, okay, well, fuck it, if I check Strava and I'm fucked and it says 7 kilometers, like that's the dead zone. Hit the eject button or just like head first into oncoming traffic just to undo, just to stop the pain. But if I have that set out, grand. But I think the whole point of it was, and the challenge in general, was to prove a point. And it's to prove a point to everyone in the group of where you're at mentally. Like, you know, what stories are you telling yourself?
Not physically. Anybody, if you walk, it's the same. Yeah, big time.
And I think everybody has stories. Everyone has reasons. Everyone has excuses. And for all of us, and for me personally, running is something that I've grown to enjoy somewhat and I've gotten better at over the last 2 years, but it's still far out of my fucking comfort zone. Like I'm not built for distance running. I'm built for fucking doing heavy shit on a fucking, you know what I mean?
Heavy shit and putting it back down again.
Literally something from A to B in a very short distance. So for me, running isn't a massive, massive comfort zone of mine. And I always know that long distance, you know, that is quite uncomfortable for me. It is quite uncomfortable, as it would be for fucking anyone. And this week was all about proving a point, like every challenge is. Like in Chef Fit, we set challenges. And every week, it's like you're doing something to push out of your comfort zone. And this week is no different. And that 3 by 10K is, you know, shows the difference between having a tribe and having something like Chef Fit and doing it by yourself. Because you might challenge yourself to do that if you were doing it alone, but you probably wouldn't. You know, you probably wouldn't. And if you did challenge yourself to do it by yourself and you had nobody there to kind of, you know, relay how you've done, there's a very good chance that you probably do a 5K instead of a 10K, or you do 3/4 of it, as Peter said, and say, Jesus, I think I've done enough, and scrap it. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. It's like, no, you must get the 10K done 3 times in a week. And there's no other fucking bullshit outside of that. And I'm, you know, even though I've a fucked up ankle, Peter's got a fucked up hip at the moment. His neck went on him last week. He's pretty much fucking coming down with full-blown leprosy. Yeah, rotting. The kid, but even with that in mind, and even Andy, or one of the lieutenants, like, his ankle's fucked as well. And it's just like, it's about managing yourself and being able to just get it done no matter what. Even if you are fucking not feeling ideal, it's finding a way. Even if the time is shit, it doesn't matter. It's getting that distance in. And that really ties into this episode, because a big thing that I see, and this isn't just a chef thing, it's a human thing, but I see chefs doing it when they look at Chef Fit stuff. And it's this mentality of, well, I don't need to do that. Like, I don't need to join a coaching program. I don't need to have people holding me accountable. I don't need someone to tell me what to do and how to do it, because I can do it myself. You know, that's a mentality that I see a lot of. And it's the wrong mentality. It really is. It's the wrong mentality. And it's a mentality that will ultimately keep you stuck in your lifestyle, but it'll also keep you stuck in your life. Because really what you're saying in that situation is, I don't need help. I know what I'm talking about. And for all of us, every single person, we know this well. Like, there's a very good chance that if you think you know everything and you can't be told anything, there's a very good chance that you've got an ego problem, and there's a very good chance that you actually don't know. And the reason that you don't know is because you're a human being. No one, like, you're a human being, simple as. And if you're not willing to ask for help on something when you know you need help on something, or if you do need help on something you might be aware of, like, there's a constant, basically,
it's not easy if you know the answer. That's what they say.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. And I think when it comes to doing this thing, can you do Chef Fit alone? In my opinion, I think the answer is no. And what I mean the answer is no is, you can half-ass something alone. You can kind of do something alone. You can get the ball off the fucking ground alone. But whether you're going to sustain something for a long enough period of time, get results from it, grow to love the process, and then permanently change and evolve. Like, I highly doubt that the 99% of chefs can do that by themselves, because lifestyle and discipline and that way of life is alien when you've been in the industry. It's alien. It's not commonplace. And it's something that you have to learn. It's like, you don't take a fucking stranger off the street just because they think they know what they're talking about, or some kind of food blogger. We'll throw them into the kitchen then, because they're so passionate about food. And then, okay, Rob, well, I don't need help cooking. No, you do, because you're shit at cooking. You don't know what you're doing. And it's not your fault. You don't do that for a living. The same thing goes for a chef and lifestyle. It's like a square peg in a circular hole. It's not something that goes hand in hand. And when something is not natural to you and you're not too sure, but you know you need to do it, it's probably a good idea to seek help on that, okay? What I want to outline for you is that you can take stuff from this podcast. You could take stuff from videos. You could take stuff from trainings that I've done, you know, or you could take stuff from the free 5-day course. But the key thing is not about consuming the information. The key thing is, can you take that, apply it, and sustain it for the rest of your life? Like, if the answer is no, then you need help. If the answer is no, then you need help. And the way you need to look at it is this. Like, when I set out to be a coach, I set out to help people who were not self-motivated. But here's the key. I help people who were not self-motivated become self-motivated. Not just, I help you get fit and I hold your hand. That's bullshit. That's rent a friend. That's what I used to do when I was training people. And I had no interest in that way of coaching, because you're just giving someone your time. And for me, I was just giving people time and showing them how to train and getting them to exercise and whatever else. But outside of that, nothing was really different. And when I saw it out with something
that was at the start. That was at the start of Chef Cabin. You were in the same place that the burnt out chefs get to.
Yeah.
When I was in the last couple of years, as working as a chef, you were in the same place then for the first 4 months working. Jesus, remember when you went all in on Chef It? You were like, right, that's it. I'm done with that, and this is it now.
Totally,
and you
100%.
had the exact same look in your eye as I had in the last Thai restaurant that I was working in, going, do you know what? I'm literally going through the motions here, you know.
Hated it.
And we're like, and technically, when you talk about can you do Chef Fit alone, there's no reason why. I'm not saying, so if you wrote down, right, this is what you have to do, this is the nutrition plan, there you go. You handed that to me 2 years ago, I would have lasted a month, 2 months maybe, because like say if can you do it alone? Technically, there's no reason why you can't. So say for example, the last time I tried and failed to get my own shit together, I went to the gym and there was gym instructors there. They said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to lose weight. I want to build muscle. I want to get fit. And then they say, right, come in here 3 times a week, do this, this, and this, And being a chef, I knew what I had to eat.
Yeah.
But the main difference here is it's the difference between motivation and drive. I know I brought it up a couple of times in the past. So I was motivated because I knew that I had to lose weight. I had to get myself in shape and I had to get fit. But so I had the drive to do that. But once I was there, as soon as I hit a speed bump or, let myself off a little bit, then it was gone because I didn't have the motivation as well to do that. But then when I joined the tribe and I have other people that are doing it as well, and if I don't do it, they're going to know that I didn't do it. And I hope that they're going to feel the same about me not doing it as I would feel about them not doing it.
100%.
So then I had drive and I had motivation. And that's where, if you had given me, when I talked to you the first day, you said, right, this is what Chef It is. And you handed me a manual, which had, a year's workout plans and the nutrition and said, do that. Within 6 weeks, I'd have been like, actually, look, I tried that. It didn't work. Along with a lot of other things I tried and didn't work. Do you know what I mean?
And the whole point behind that is this. It's like, people think that information is the only thing you need. And this is why I speak so much. And you'll notice on my videos, even on Chef Fit's page, I very rarely talk about what exercise to do. I very rarely tell you how to exercise. I don't really tell you what to eat. And I don't really tell you, what the tactics are. Because the tactics are just the fucking, that's just an action that you need to take. But none of that matters if it's not governed by the correct headspace and mindset. Do you understand? It's not governed by the correct mindset. Like, think about, like, if you're not in the correct space mentally, I give you the best plan in the world. And this is something I've done my whole life. I've always been the health and fitness guy. So if someone comes to me and they ask me for a fucking program, I'll make them a program. But you go back to them, or whoever, cousin fucking Jimmy, go back to them 2 weeks later. How'd you get on with that program? Just didn't get the fucking time. And it's the same pattern over and over and over again. If I just give you something to do by yourself, there's a 95% chance that you probably won't follow through with it. And that's been proven over and over and over again. And the example that I give you is because it's not the priority in your life 100%. Okay, and this is a fact for most people. Think about what your priorities are. And I don't mean just, oh, well, I'm really into my health and fitness right now. Like, think about how an athlete, whether professional or semi-professional, think about an athlete approaches their exercise, approaches their nutrition, approaches their discipline within their lifestyle, their sleep times, all of that shit. Like, try and imagine how that person thinks. That's someone who can do something alone, and even they seek coaching. But like, for myself with powerlifting, I wanted to be one of the strongest people in Ireland. So my goal, like, that was where that was where my head was at. So I was self-motivated to fucking train myself into the ground. A lot of people, and this is just truth, a lot of people who aren't athletes don't have that mentality of, this is what I'm going to do. Everyday people don't have that mentality. And that's not a bad thing. That's just human nature. Everyone is different. But you got to understand that, like, if you are not coming from that athlete background, where, and I'm not saying like you played a bit of football back in 1996, but I mean an athlete background who's been coached, who knows what it fucking takes. Like, if that's not you, which the majority of people aren't, there's probably a very good chance that you need support, that you need accountability, that you need guidance in what you're doing. And even if I was that athlete with all the fucking right mentality, I still need coaching. I still need someone to fucking take the thinking out of it for me. I can show up and train. You don't need to worry about that, but I still need to take the thinking out of it at the bare minimum. Now, imagine if I didn't know anything about training. Imagine I didn't have that motivation. Imagine I didn't have that drive to fucking go and achieve something great. Fuck me, I'm going to need a lot more in place to keep me on track. And that's the truth for a lot of people. Like, you're not a professional athlete. You got to remember that. There's a different fucking drive there. And when you're not a professional athlete, you need to have the correct things in place in order for you to succeed at what you're doing. And I'm telling you what the incorrect way to think about it is, well, I could do this alone. Bullshit. That's a really lazy approach to something. And it's one way to almost ensure that you're going to fail, is to say that I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. Fact. Like, what's your qualification? Have you read many books on this? No. That's the truth. You haven't. And that's fine as long as you're aware of it. But if you're not and you act like you're not, like, you're going to fail. So understand that. Also, taking it back a step, when I was personal training people, when I started Sheffield, I was working 2 jobs and I was fucking burnt to a crisp, burnt to an absolute crisp. And Sheffield was something that was a passion project that I fucking worked hard to build and get out, so I could get away from that other place that I was in and do something that I was passionate about. And even in that time, when I started Sheffield, I had to seek help. It wasn't a case of like, oh, well, I just know how to launch an online program and everything's just going to be sweet. Like, I had to invest money in myself. Like, I had to invest money in myself to learn new shit, whether that be getting a mentor to show me a few bits and pieces, doing courses, trying to fucking research ways. And it's like, eventually over time, through investing my money, my time, my effort into seeking help, I was able to build Sheffield. It was all my idea and all of that jazz, but there's a lot of things that I would have taken me years to figure out by myself. I was able to look at what someone else was doing and then go, okay, cool, well, what can I apply into what I'm doing? And that helped me fast track the process and get the result of getting this thing off the ground. Whereas if I had just had this ego, which so many colleagues of mine had, right? The lad who I was working with at the time, the guy I was working with at the time, or working for at the time, said, mentors are a waste of money. Courses are a waste of money. They're just going to tell you something you already know. That was his mentality. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was in a business that was failing. Like, his gym was fucking failing at the time. And it's like, so you know everything and you're failing. Like, is that really what you're telling me? That's ego at its absolute pinnacle, at its absolute worst. The fucking house is burning down around you and you're saying you don't need help. Are you fucking deranged? And lo and behold, he's out of business. You know what I mean? And fucking, to be honest with you, like, the truth is, it's because he wasn't willing to seek that help. He wasn't willing to fucking go and figure out ways to improve and get it better and better. So
I remember questioning things like that when I was a kid, when I was watching the snooker and someone said, blah, 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 that's his coach. I was like, but he's the best snooker player in the world. Yeah, but that's his coach. No, I was a kid at the time. And it was Steve Davis or something like that. And I was like, so why does he have a coach? It's supposed to show him how to get better. It's like, but there's nobody better than him. So how can he learn? And my dad was like, well, so his coach, if he played 100 games against his coach, he'd beat him 97 times. Mm-hmm. And then 3 times he might lose. Might get the coach will get lucky, whatever it is. But that coach has played in 100 more competitions than he has won more competitions than he has, and has been through it all. And that's what he's learning from that. Mm. And I remember that every time that pops into my head, I remember that like it was yesterday. When it comes to me, if somebody goes, here's how to do this, or when I'm in work, like, or I'll show you how to do that. You go, well, oh, hold on a second, I'm a better chef than him. So, right, well, check yourself there.
Yeah.
What does he know? What can he bring to the table, and what has he known, and what has he done?
Totally.
And that's a big time when I was thinking about that, where I was like, oh, he's the best in the world. He doesn't need a coach.
Yeah.
He should be teaching the coach how to be good again.
Yeah, and you have to be so fucking careful, that. Again, like that whole idea of, oh, why does he, like, you have to be so careful of ego. All of us. You have, like, ego is the thing that's the voice in your head that says, you're grand. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need them. You can rely on yourself. Bollocks. It's bollocks a lot of the time. You don't know everything. And even if you do know a lot, there's always something more that you can learn, and that whole idea of the best athletes in the world have coaching. They have someone there. And it's not that you need intensive coaching for the rest of your life, but the idea is that you need help, is that you need guidance and potentially help from someone who knows more about the thing that you're trying to do than you do. And the 5 things that I want to dive into, because I love a fucking good list. Like, I'm going to dive into 5 reasons why.
Every chef loves a list.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting through the list. It's like 5 reasons why Chef It, right, is going to be superior and better to doing something by yourself, and diving into these reasons to give you something tangible that you can actually think about and go, oh, shit, well, actually, maybe I should seek out that help, because I've been stuck for a while and I haven't been able to get a result. Like, there is a handful of chefs who go and do shit by themselves, and I've gotten messages like that. Fantastic, great, fair play to them. But they're the absolute 0.1% of people. You know what I mean? The vast majority are lost, don't really know how to do something, what to do, how to structure it. They don't know how to stay motivated. They don't know what, you don't know these things. And I get that. But if you're in that position and you're still stuck and you're not doing anything, you'll gain a lot from what we're about to dive into. So the first thing, and the first massive difference between doing any kind of lifestyle change alone as a chef and joining something like Chef Fit, the first one is the mental clarity. The mental clarity. So the first thing we do with every single chef is that we hit a reset button. We get on the phone and we talk. And the idea is that first and foremost, you lay all your problems on the table. You lay all your issues on the table. What are you experiencing right now? And a lot of the times after a while, we'll whittle it down and we'll get to a point where someone feels like they're either, not showing up as a father, not being successful as a chef, struggling within their relationship, not having a relationship. Like, those are the outcomes. That's down to not having any confidence in themselves, not having any energy, having a really shit, ill-disciplined lifestyle. You get to a point where you've clarified what your problem is. My problem is, I'm struggling within my relationship. I've got no confidence. We haven't had sex in a month. You know what I mean? Or 3 months or whatever the fuck. You get clear on what that problem is. Because for a lot of us, we know all the frustrations that we have. We have all this pain, but we never pinpoint it. Pinpoint it to the stage where you can fix it. See, it might seem painful to lay shit on the table, but it's not. It's actually you unburdening yourself. It's you unburdening yourself. And then you can listen to someone like me or Ella, be able to give you an objective point of view and go, actually, this is what you think of the situation. This is the truth about that situation. So let's say I have no confidence, and I argue with my spouse a lot. Okay. And we haven't had sex in 2 months. Okay, cool. Well, what are you arguing about? Well, we argue because, I'm tired on my days off and I don't want to hear anything from them, and they just don't understand what it's like for me being on my feet for 14 hours a day. And then we also don't have sex anymore because I'm not comfortable in my own skin. And in their mind, it's like, well, these are the problems that I'm facing, and, they don't understand where I'm coming from, and they're not helping me fix my problem. What I'll do in that situation is I'll go, okay, well, what would happen if you were able to, this is the problem that you're facing. You haven't had sex in a while. You're struggling with your confidence. You're arguing all the time. Have you ever tried to have a quick conversation and just explain how tired you are from work and what your day has actually been like? Or do you ever talk about work? No, I never really talk about it. Okay, so that's the first thing, is like you're not communicating what's actually how you're feeling. So therefore she's coming down hard on you because she feels like she's on another side, or he feels like he's on the other side. Okay. Then the other part of that is your confidence. What would happen if you lost a good bit of weight and got yourself in shape? Well, I probably have more confidence. I probably have more sex. So you think if you stop making choices around eating shit, drinking, all of this stuff, and you started making better choices within your lifestyle, that you'd have more confidence overall, and therefore you'd improve in your relationship on top of being able to communicate? Yeah, I do. Cool. So we've just clarified what the problem is, and we just clarified what we need to do to overcome that problem. Yeah, sweet. I'm really fucking clear in my mind now. I know what I need to do. That's mental clarity. And what mental clarity does is it gives you the fire, okay? The fire and the motivation to go and fix your problem. Fire and motivation to fix your problem. Whereas before, you're just kind of doing something, but there's no real fucking whack behind it. You know what I mean? There's no real intention. You know, when I talk to people who join ShefFit, there's always a feeling that it's different this time. This time is going to be the time I sort it out. Chefs come in, they've tried diets, they've tried this, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The industry's beating the shit out of me. They jump on a call with me or Ella and they commit to themselves and they commit to the tribe. And there's a feeling inside that this is going to be different this time around. Something feels different, whether you're talking to people who know what you've been through, they understand what the industry is like. Something happens in that conversation and they flick a switch. That's the fire and the motivation. And if you were just doing that by yourself, unless you have dived into personal development, unless you've had someone sit down with you and go through this shit with you, there's a very good chance that you're not going to get to that point alone. You know, unless you're very clear in your mind, you're not going to get to that point alone. And that's the truth. And that's the first thing, is the mental clarity. And as an ongoing thing, what we do in ShefFit is, like, it's not just about the first conversation. There's hot seats, there's different shit I'll dive into later in the podcast. There's always a premise of, are you clear in your mind on what you're trying to do and what you're doing this for? Because if you know why you're doing something, we did the What's Your Why episode, we talked about that. You know, it's like, if you have a strong reason for why you're doing something, you'll commit to doing it. If you don't have a strong reason why, then you won't. And the clarity that you get from a conversation or a consultation gives you that focus. It gives you that fire to drive forward and take it. So that's the first difference, is getting that straight off the bat. The second thing that we dive into is then having a specific goal and outcome for what you're doing with your lifestyle. Specific goal and outcome. This is something that's so massively lacking when people try things by themselves. Because the truth is, when you don't have anyone to answer to, you'll be lazy. Fact. Like, if you have to do something you'll do something for someone else with far more intensity than you'll do it for yourself. Do you know what I mean? So if it's like, okay, well, I know I need to go and set goals, so I'll sit down with my piece of paper and I'll go and set goals, and I'll do it for about 3 minutes, get bored and say, just write some shit down and say, well, I did it. When the goals are dog shit, all I wrote down was, I want to lose a bit of weight. I want to feel better about myself. I want to feel healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have more energy. That's as far as most people go with their goals, and they're good intentions. They're all right intentions. You know, you want to push in that direction, but the reality is that goal doesn't actually mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And what I mean by that is, there's no specific outcome. There's no deadline on it. Is it even relevant? Like, do you know what you're trying to achieve specifically? Do you know how you're going to achieve that goal? The answer is no to all of those questions. And that means your ability to actually go and achieve that thing goes out the fucking window. So the biggest thing that we do with ShefFit is, after we hit that reset button and we go, okay, this is the problem, this is what you need to do to overcome it, then it's about setting an outcome. So not only do you know you need to improve your confidence, not only do you know you need to improve your relationship or improve your leadership in the kitchen, whatever your thing is, whatever your problem is, you also need to set a goal that's pushing you in the right direction. So if you're struggling with confidence and you haven't had sex, okay, and you're overweight, well, a very, very good goal for you would be, okay, well, I want to lose 20 kilos. Great. That's a tangible outcome. Don't overlook weight loss. It's a tangible outcome. It shouldn't be. Some people don't need to focus on it, but a lot of people do. If you're overweight, you need to focus on losing some weight. I want to lose 20 kilos. Great. When do you need to lose that by? I want to lose it in 3 months. Okay. That's 90 days. That's a solid fucking goal. It's a lofty one, but it's a solid one, right? And it's doable. Okay, cool. So you know you need to lose 20 kilos in 3 months or 90 days. How are you going to go about that? Well, I need to train 3 times. I need to go to the gym or do a bodyweight workout 3 times a week. And I need to get myself in motion with some cardio 2 or 3 times a week on top of that. And I need to not eat shit on a week-to-week basis. And I need to, you know, eat plenty of greens and stick to 3 meals a day. There you go. Give up the booze, give up the fucking chocolate and the sweets. You know, that's having a goal, that's having a timeline, that's having a routine to get you to that goal. You're very clear. Every chef that we have in, you have to go through that process. When you join us, you do an intro week where we set the foundation before you go forward into the program. You have to set those specific goals, write them out and declare them. So they're there, they're ready to rock. That's absolutely vital, because not only do you have the fire and motivation to go and sort your shit out, but now you have the focus and the direction and knowing that this is where I'm going and this is what I need to do to get there. So when you got that fire and you got that focus, now you're in a far, far, far different fucking position to doing it by yourself, which was, oh, well, I feel a bit shit about myself and I want to be healthier. So I'm going to start doing a diet, and you'll just Google diet and select the first one that pops up. Do you know what I mean? That's what you'll do when you're by yourself. It doesn't work. And the reason that it doesn't work is because you're lacking that direction. You're lacking that fire and motivation. So that's the small stuff at the beginning. As you go forward from there, like now we're getting into the meat and bread. So sustainable structure is the big difference. And that's the third one. What I mean by sustainable structure is like with Chef Fit, I try and take the thinking out of it for chefs. I take the thinking out of it because when you're working your fucking bollocks off, the last thing you want to be doing is, and I always use this example, is logging every fucking bit of calorie that you've consumed in a day on your phone on an app. You know, I know a lot of people subscribe to that. For some people, if you have the time, great, go and do it. I've never, like, unless I was being super specific, I don't want to fucking know about it. I'd rather focus on the basics and a sustainable structure than complicating my life. So for a lot of chefs, they'll go to a diet or they'll go to a training program. It's too complicated. It's not fucking, you know, it's not viable for that person's level. And it's not viable for the life of a chef either. What I've done with Chef Fit is we have a structure that has 3 pillars to it. Simple as fuck. First thing, organize yourself. Okay? Get a diary, write down your plan for the day. If you're not planning your days, you're winging it and you're going to fucking end up falling off track at some point along the line. If you're planning out each day, at the bare minimum, you're going to get at least half of that done. At least half of that. When there is no plan, God knows what happens. And the very good chance that happens.
Prepare to fail.
Every time. So the preparation is key. I have a diary, write it down every day. What am I doing today? When am I doing it? Okay? Think of mise en place. You have your mise in the kitchen. Things go in a particular order. Yeah, it's structured. Everything, I think the definition of mise is like things are in the correct place. That's it. And organizing yourself in that way, you know, when you're in the kitchen. So it's the same thing, just applied to your personal life. List of shit to do, when they're going to be done. Okay, so planning out when you're going to be exercising, planning out when you're going to be eating, planning out when you're waking up, when you're going to bed, when you're getting that bit of reading done if you have time, when you're going to work, when you're doing that one thing around the gaff that you've been meaning to do, like writing all that shit down and planning out and doing that day after day after day. That means you're structured and organized. The second part of that is within Chef Fit, what we get you to do is we get you to move every day. But not only do we get you to move every day, but we give you specific instructions based on your level as a beginner. If you come in, right? If you're a beginner level or you're advanced, that doesn't matter. You come in at a beginner level and then you're told exactly what you need to do. And there's a demonstration and coaching to carry out what you need to do. As opposed to you just going, well, I'll just fucking go to the gym and just jump on this machine and see what happens. Or I'll just start running. You know what I mean? Like that's as far as a lot of people go in terms of doing it themselves. But when you've got something like Chef Fit, it's laid out for you. It's proven to get a result. And there's no thinking involved. You just do the fucking thing and you execute it consistently. And the structure works in a way where you can sustain it over time. And it's just a case of doing it as opposed to thinking about it. The last thing is the nutrition. Basics with nutrition. As I said, I'm not here to fucking count calories of a lettuce leaf and log in into my phone. I don't care about that shit. All right. It's not that that's unimportant. It's just you need to find a more simplistic way of doing it. So with all every chef that we coach. Again, how can you break it down? Food shop, food prep, structure. Those things remain consistent. You do your food shop same day most weeks. You do your food prep and batch cook for the week. Okay. Bang for your buck nutrition. You eat 3 meals a day with greens at every meal. Done. Okay. How do you manage the calories? Manage your portions. What's the rule? Don't be a dickhead. Look at your plate. Do you have a mountain of fucking pasta or rice, fuck all greens, and fuck all protein? Cool, you're being a dickhead. Half the portion of carbs, double the protein, double the greens. That's a plate of food. You know, and that's as simple as you do it every fucking week, week in, week out. The idea, as simple as the thing I might have explained, imagine if you did that for the next 6 to 12 months, how different would you feel? You'd be in a totally different place. And it's sustainable, it's simple, and it works for a chef. Sustainable, simple, and works for a chef. When anyone joins our group or joins our coaching program, you are guided through that. It's laid out for you. All you've got to do is just do it. That's it. You know, all you got to do is do it. You don't have to worry about any other shit. So that's key. Whereas if you were doing that by yourself, you wouldn't have a sustainable, you wouldn't have structure. You'd just be doing things. You wouldn't have structure, you just do things. Like, we've all done it. I've done fucking stupid diets before that, you know, I did for a week and stopped. Sure, Peter did the same shit. Go into the gym, as you were saying before, Peter, you know, at the beginning, you get the program off the gym instructor, come in here 3 times a week, yada, yada, yada. After 2 weeks, you're gone. You know what I mean? Like, you're already fucking falling off track. And I think because a lot of that is there isn't a sustainable thing that you can rinse and repeat.
And on the diet one as well, I have a friend who literally brings extendable 3-pronged weighing scales and foldable plastic plate to restaurants.
Oh God! Right.
I think it's I don't know if it's Weight Watchers or something very similar, but I was looking at it going, that's the most unnecessary thing I've ever seen in my life. You know,
it's mental. Absolutely.
I was like, sure, like the breakdown of every dish is completely different anyway. So what on earth are you doing? Well, I know how much the plate weighs, so I'll just put everything onto that plate, and so you're going by the weight of the food. Yeah, I was like, but like, say, what about? I know we don't count macros, but I was, you know, that was the language I was using. What about the macros of that? Like, so most of the weight of that could be it was a bream, and it was like a whole fish. And I was like, so what if that was a carbonara? Can you imagine the weight of like that dish there? That is, you know, when you put it onto the plate and it's 465 grams of fish and steamed veg compared to 450 grams of fucking pasta. And she's like, no, this is so simple. I could eat this much weight of food because I burn this much weight of calories in my normal day. What? So she goes into the restaurant, orders it, out of the bag, takes out this thing like this, 1, 2, 3, puts it down, takes a plastic plate out, puts it on, and then scrapes her food onto it. Oh, it's a little bit over here. You have some of my potatoes.
Oh, good fucking Lord. So that's what you're dealing with. You know, that's
what you're up against.
That's what people think, you know, good nutrition is. That's just being a fucking asshole. And not a bad person, but that's just acting the bollocks, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Acting the bollocks. I think Ella told me before, my missus, she was working in a gym, and some girl who goes to the gym, like an older woman who goes to the gym, said they were in holidays and in the States, and they were staying in the Hard Rock Cafe, and your one had brought, you know, they had to get a room with a cooker. She cooked off chicken breasts and rice, and then they were going down to the Hard Rock Cafe, like the restaurant, and then she's taking out these Tupperwares of chicken breasts and rice on holidays in the States. Man, you fucking out of your fucking mind. You out of your mind. My whole opinion on nutrition,
especially when it comes to holidays.
It's just like you're not only do you look like a gimp, but you also
literally are a gimp.
Yeah, but you're ruining the experience for other people, and you're making your own life miserable. Because what happens when you don't have the fucking scales? What happens when you're at a fucking social gathering and, you know, you have to have a drink or whatever? You're fucked. Everything goes out the window. And when you make something so complicated and unsustainable, you become an all or nothing person, where it's like, well, I'm just going to attack this thing 100%. And you don't actually think about the future, which is, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. If you're not able to do it for a long period of time, you're wasting your time doing it, in my opinion.
Then it's an unsustainable structure. And then once you fuck up, you're like, sure, look at what's the point?
Exactly. And here's an interesting point with nutrition. So Peter says we don't necessarily count macros. True and not true. I'm not counting looking at every piece of food that I'm putting into my body and trying to understand, well, that was 17.2. That was 33.2 grams carbs there. That's fucking okay. Well, let me get my calculator. It's like, no, the last thing I want you to do is, act as if a daily food intake is like maths class. It shouldn't be like that. How I get someone to get their macros on point is by simplifying. It's like, I'll take that theory, this theory, which is it's in the book. This is what it's written in the book. And then there's application. Application is, this is me doing it in real life. Anyone with half a fucking brain and half, any level of experience will take the theory and simplify it so you can apply it. What most fuckheads do with nutrition, and what the fitness industry has become a multi-billion-dollar fucking industry of, is taking the theory, overcomplicating it into application through diets and programs, and then average fuckheads look at the thing and go, Jesus Christ, this fat burner's got fucking yahimbi in it. Does that, geez, I've never heard of that. That must fucking work. They're complicating it. It's not fucking difficult. So like if I batch cook for the week and I have a fairly consistent repertoire of things that I batch cook, let's say I cook my chili, or I cook a curry, or I cook a fucking stir fry, chances are I'm going to have a good dose of chicken or beef in that, or whatever protein, but chicken or beef. I'm going to have a good dosage of vegetables. And I also know I'm probably going to cook rice on the side of that, or potatoes. Like when I have my meal,
and breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. And I have my breakfast option, which is my bacon, eggs, and spinach. I have those 3 meals a day. I consistently have 3 meals, and I consistently manage my portions. So therefore, I know when I look at a plate, when I set out that portion, it might sound like I've oversimplified it by saying don't be a dick, but it's like, no, half your plate is greens, a third of your plate is protein, a quarter of your plate is carbohydrates. I know looking at that plate what the macros are. Okay, right, well, you got 200 grams of protein. That's probably about 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Do that 3 times. That's probably somewhere between 120, 150 grams of protein for the day. And then you have a snack on top of that, taking you up to 160, 170. You're bang on where you
shake or two.
Yeah, so you're bang on where you need to be. And you haven't counted shit. Same thing with the calories. It's like, it's all about the portions of what you're putting into your body. So if you're loading up on fucking carbs,
cold tea, does that count?
Yeah, lovely. Late night tea, bit of fucking ice in the veins. And the same thing with the portions. It's like I'm looking at the fucking plate. I'm reducing the things that, are going to be quite calorific. When I say don't be a dick, when it comes to your cooking, are you lashing loads of butter and fucking cream and shit into your stuff that you're cooking, or are you reducing that and not using it at all? If you're being a dick, you're using that shit. If you're not being a dick, you're not using that shit. Very simple rule. But the idea of that rule is that it regulates what you're doing. So you could take this shit, which is the theory, which is like, oh, well, I need to eat this amount of grams of protein, I need to eat this amount of calories. I've just taken that premise and that fact, I've simplified it down and structured it in a way where you can do it without thinking that you're doing it. That's how I operate with nutrition. That's how I usually operate with training as well. So people might think I'm very simple in my approach, but there is method to the madness, okay? Because I'm not here to be like, well, you need to be counting everything. Fuck that. It's not a way of operating. It's not a way of operating. For chefs, you've got to understand that your simplicity is key to your sustainability, okay? Simplicity is key. And when we're in Chef Fit, that's laid out for you, no thinking involved. You take it out of your mind so you can do it and follow through with it and do it for the rest of your life, not just for a couple of weeks. The last 2 things then, number 4 is ongoing coaching. This is a huge, huge, huge difference that everybody overlooks. You're probably sitting in your situation, listening to this right now. You probably think your situation is different. You probably think you're different because everybody thinks they're different. And we are different in ways. But one thing that human beings all share is that we've all got ego to a certain extent, and we all think we're grand when we're not. And then it's too late, you know? So like chefs will get to a point where it's like, it's grand. I'll just keep I'll keep drinking out night after night. I'll keep fucking, you know, doing bag at the end of the week. I'll keep eating shit.
Because I have to.
Yeah, because I'm a chef and this is what I do. And you don't ever think that like I have to do anything about this because I'm a chef and my situation's different. Eventually you get to a point where that catches up with you and it bites you in the arse. And now you're fucking depressed. Now you've got bouts of anxiety on a regular basis. Now you've got no confidence and self-esteem, and now you've got no energy for your friends and family. It's like bollocks. So then you'll get to a point, you know, where you're already in the rabbit hole and you've got to get it sorted. Okay, cool. When you start off and you make that lifestyle change, it's like it's not just going to be plain sailing the whole way through. There's going to be trials and tribulations. There's going to be problems. There's going to be issues that you have. And when you have those issues, you need someone else to push you through those issues. So like when I said at the start, the clarity, someone gets on the phone with me and I'll give you clarity on what your problem is. That doesn't mean that you're never going to have a problem again. There's definitely going to be problems again. So that's why I have a hot seat in the coaching program, where if someone's really struggling, they can jump on one-on-one with me and we'll get clear. You know, and we'll get clear on what the problem is and get a game plan put together to push you forward. And that, to be honest, has saved a lot of chefs in our group who have potentially fallen off track for a period of time and thought that it was impossible to get back on track. Jump on a hot seat, boom, coach them through it, and now they're back on track again. And that's only one aspect of the coaching. Roundtables, being able to check in with the group every single week, looking in the community, and seeing the fucking what other people are doing, seeing the food that they're posting, the exercise that they're doing, picking yourself up and going forward. Like having a consistent coaching structure, like a school. Every week, things happen at the same time. You know, people do their check-ins at the same time. I read their check-ins. I'll give them tasks based on their check-ins at the same time. Like everything runs on a schedule. And this ongoing coaching and consistency means that there's a consistent way of overcoming the problem that you're facing. And that's massive, because remember the last time you tried a lifestyle change alone, you did it for 3 or 4 weeks, yeah, roughly. And what happened is work got busy, you got called in, or you had to stay on late one of the days, and now you got a shit night's sleep. And now you're into a weekend at work, you're already on the back foot. Now you're into 2 days getting blasted by service. Then come Monday, the fucking last thing that you're going to do is go and train and eat good food. You say, fuck it, I can't do it. That is the situation that you need coaching in. You need someone to then step in where you can go, well, this is what I'm dealing with, I don't want to do it. And then you can have someone like me or someone else in the group step up and say, listen, man, this is the crack, this is what you need to do. And that will drive you forward. And that's the huge difference, is that you have the tools there to get yourself out of the shit. Okay, and overcome the problem so you can stay on track for months and if not years. Peter's been on track for like nearly 2 years now, you know, and that's down to having some ongoing coaching as part of his process. And that ties into
before I move on from ongoing coaching, the support groups as well that we have. Every chef within Chefit has their own personal support group, where there's Cam, myself and other lieutenants, where it's basically like there's weekly check-ins, and then whenever anybody has any problems or questions, they can get in contact straight away.
Yeah.
And it also works because of the weekly check-ins that we have, that people, if you know, if someone says to you, how you doing? You go, I'm all right. You go, I'm all right. Actually, do you know what? I struggled last week with this and this and this. And where that changed drastically was from people that were always solid, you know, the people that were really consistent. And this ended up helping them as much as people that were struggling. Do you know what I mean? So that was a huge thing. That was when that got introduced at the start, it it brought it up to another level, especially the personal side to it. It's one thing for somebody to go on, and we have the live videos. This is like something that we all go to. We go to vent, and we go to connect, and we go to share experiences and stuff like that. But it can be hard because the tribe environment is not natural for chefs.
Yeah.
Being a chef is cutthroat. So when you get in, it's not natural for you to be open, and it's not natural for chefs to be open anyway. So another way that the personal support groups works is you can say, here lads, last week I really, really struggled with this and I don't know why. And because myself, Andy, we've got 40 years between us on the front line, then we can automatically put ourselves into that situation. We've, like I said before the podcast, there's no excuses that we haven't heard before. And there's that personal touch to it as well when it comes to ongoing coaching, and you know what I mean, to keep it on top of yourself. And for I still have that. I treat that for myself as a constant learning curve as well for me. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that ties into
Massively.
the last thing, which is the accountability of it, and that's the last point I'm going to make. And I think they both go, the coaching and the accountability go hand in hand. And what Peter's saying about the support group, it's like, not only do you have a weekly check-in as a base level, but if you're ever struggling, then we increase that to multiple times a week, where it's like, okay, now I'm going to check in on this person like 3, 4, sometimes even 6 or 7 times this week, and just on top of them to make sure that something's getting done. And so they can build some momentum off the back of that. Because if your coach is checking in on you, or the Peter and Andy, the two older chefs, are fucking checking in on me, I'm going to definitely be getting my stuff done today. You know what I mean? And I'm really, really going to push to get it done. You then take that, which is your personal support group, and then you also have the community where you've got 50 other chefs. You also take your problem that you're feeding, and then you look into a group, and then you can share that with them, and they can give you feedback. Or even if you're just looking for motivation and inspiration. If I know I have to run a 10K today, which I do add to this fucking podcast, in my own head, I could say, oh, fuck, well, shit, I don't know. Or I could look into the group and see how many of the other chefs have done a 10K, and then fucking slap myself in the face and get up and do it, because I see what other people are doing. And that drives me forward. So when you think about that accountability, it's like, not only are you being checked on within Chef Fit, if you need more check-ins, you get more check-ins. Every single week, then you have to audit your week. You have to write, you have to answer questions based on what you did, what you didn't do, and what needs to improve next week. I will read that every week, and I'll give you guidance based on what you've told me. And that's another thing to give you more focus and more clarity and hold you accountable to what you're doing. Within the group, then, if people go missing, they usually get messaged. They usually get you'll see it up in the group, where is this person? And it's a constant thing to keep you on track and rope you back in. There's always going to be a week where you're in the shit. Cool, that's great. Once that's done, back on track again. And the idea of the other part of the coaching is eventually over time, and something I forgot to talk about, is that we do trainings, we do hot seats, we do roundtables. You'll see Cam's Corner videos, my live videos. Peter does some great live videos. Every chef in there more or less does a live video at some point. All the content I put into Chef Fit's group, the community, is designed to take you from being that person who isn't self-motivated, like I said at the start, to becoming that person that is self-motivated. So I would have classified Peter when he joined was focused on the ball guy, but lacked the self-motivation to sustain his efforts for long enough periods of time. Something happened to Peter mentally over the course of a year and a half, where he just flicked the switch and he started becoming someone else, where he started becoming this more uber responsible for his actions guy who, was super disciplined, focused, and never dropped the ball. And that's all down to him absorbing the coaching. He just absorbed what the coaching was over and over and over again until it became who he was. And the Chef Fit way of life, which is being responsible of your fucking life, of your actions, and of the result that you're chasing, being disciplined enough to carry out the work, and knowing that the more disciplined you are, the better your life is, and then leveraging the tribe and the team that you have around you to maximize your results and love the process. Eventually that thinking and that way of life becomes who you are once you absorb the coaching. The accountability that we provide is just to keep you on track till that happens. Because if that happens, you've won the game. There's no going back to the same shit. You might have a shit week, you might have a shit month, but you'll always have a good baseline of being disciplined and having good habits. Whereas if you never have that transformation mentally and physically, your baseline is eating shit, drinking, and going off the rails. So that's the whole point of the coaching and accountability, is to keep you on track until you ultimately change who you are, and there's no going back to square one again. I will say it over and over. If you were doing that by yourself, it just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. If we think about all the shit that we put in place for people, like if that just wasn't there, to expect someone to rise above and get the job done in anywhere near the same fashion, it's just not going to happen, in my opinion. And I've seen it proven over and over and over again. We don't normally
I used to support group myself last night, Cam, remember?
There you go.
I was struggling, yeah. Big time. No, I was struggling, and I just said, here, look, I'm struggling in my own head. What's the story? And you just you grounded me and said, this is where you are. This is what we need to do, and this is what is going to happen when we follow the plan.
Exactly.
And when you're saying about me becoming driven and stuff like that, what inspired me most from you taking me under your wing is that shit things happen. Problems happen, fuck-ups happen, we hit speed bumps. And when we have these problems, so I've been trained now to take problems head on, to be accountable and responsible for these problems. And I say to myself, I kind of say, like, right, when this is happening, I say, right, what we can do and what we can tell me to do. And then I'll do that, or I'll try to do that. And then when I've done it, I've seen what I've learned from it, and then I go forward stronger, having had a problem. Before, that was not me. That wasn't the way I was at all. That wasn't how I faced problems. The way I faced problems before, or any adversity or anything like that, was I ignored it and I pretended it wasn't there.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? So
running from the...
Yeah, not even running from the problem. If there was a problem, I just ignored. I said, right, that's not there,
Yeah.
If I had a problem up here, I ignored it. It wasn't happening. I had a problem, I don't know if you call it a problem, but I wasn't in good shape. I wasn't healthy. I didn't say it. I technically didn't know it because I ignored it. I didn't face it. I didn't take responsibility for it. But now, that wasn't something that you just told me one day and I knew the following day. I just followed the paths, and I used all of the tools that were there for me and that are still there for me and everybody else in there. Like you said, round tables, food picks, the coaching calls, the actual accountability, the check-ins, the support groups, the weekly challenges, the whole lot of that. I just used that. I was like, right, this is what I need to do today, this is what I need to do tomorrow. So in order to do tomorrow properly, I have to do this in this way so that I'm ready to do tomorrow that way. Then this all became second nature to me from following the path and using the tools. And whenever I did have a problem, I knew then that there was somewhere for me to go, and that when it happened, it was ultimately going to be a good thing for me, even these bad things. So then when something bad happens now, I'm like, great, good, let's go. What are we going to do now? What are we going to learn from this?
And that, folks, is having power over, and people kind of confuse what power means. Power doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you're fucking the cigar smoking CEO with his foot up on the table, drinking a whiskey in the middle of the day, watching running the world. Like, that's not what I mean by that. What I mean by power is having control over your life and having control over what's happening in your life. I think a lot of people in this world, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's definitely a thing in chefs, and it's something that I used to do, is that you feel that everything's out of your hands, and you feel that, like, this is all the industry and it's all my job and this is just how it is and I'm fucked and, that's just how my life is going to be. And eventually over time, and I suppose through the path that we've laid out and having our environment and what Peter's learned, is that that's actually not true. I can have a lot more power over my life than I think, and I can determine the direction that I want to go in if I apply myself. And with what he's been able to do, and this is the same shit I live by, like my ability to take responsibility of my life and where it's going and my decisions and owning my shit and not putting the blame on anyone else other than myself. You might think that's a harsh thing to do, but it gives me a lot of control, because it makes me fully understand that this is on me. And if I do it, it happens. If I don't do it, it doesn't happen. You know? And if I have a problem, I can fix it. And if I think I don't have a problem and someone else is the problem, I'll never fix it. Again, when I take my responsibility, I get power. You know what I mean? And I exert control. And when we exert control and we have power, you know, in our lives, we feel good. You know, we feel like we're moving in the right direction, that, you know, things are the way they're supposed to be. Whereas you're living a life of quiet desperation when you think it's someone else, you know, or it's not me. So remember that. Like the whole point of what we've explained to you and doing something like Chef It is to get you to a stage where you have control of your life. You gain control of your life by changing yourself physically, and then eventually that leads to a change mentally. And there's no going back at that point. And that's the key. So that's what we'll finish it on. Folks, please like the bloody video. Please share and subscribe to the channel. Share it on social media platforms and send it to someone if you think they need to hear this. And obviously, if you're listening to this and, you know, you've taken on board what we've said, and you've taken value from what we said, and you are interested in making that change and joining Chef It and doing the things we spoke about, then get involved. Message the Facebook page or message me on Instagram. I'll get you the details immediately for getting started. And yeah, get involved. Do not sit on the fence. Don't just keep listening to episodes hoping that one day, all right, well, I'll wait to the day that I'm fucking in the right headspace or whatever. Take action now. At the very least, the consultation is there to give you as much value and clarity as possible and give you the ins and outs of the program before you decide to join. And if you don't want to join after that, cool, that's no problem. If you do, we'll go through the process with you. So that's what I'll leave you with, guys. Petey.
Good byproduct is you can get fucking jacked.
Yup. Folks, that's how it's done. All right, pal. Good shit. Guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll catch you all soon. Peace.